Hey guys, so we're going to talk today about throwing in liters to our stoichiometry problems. So if we're given the mass of one thing, we should be able to convert to a different molecule and figure out the number of liters if it's a gas at STP. So this we've covered a little bit in some of the readings I had you guys do, but I just wanted to go ahead and make a video and make sure that we're all on the same page on how to do these problems. Okay, so before I gave the example of using Mole Island, and so remember that we have our liters there too, but before we can go from liters of one thing to anything else, we have to first convert liters into moles. And same thing would go if we are wanting our final answer in liters, we first have to go to moles of whatever we're wanting before we can go to liters. This is a nice thing to kind of refer back to. Okay, so here's the problem we are given. So we're given this balanced equation and it says how many liters of hydrogen H2 are necessary to react completely with 27.0 grams of nitrogen. So in this one we need to first figure out what we have and where we're going. So it's saying that we're starting with 27.0 grams of nitrogen. So we're starting with grams of N2. And the question wants how many liters of hydrogen. So the final answer needs to be liters of hydrogen. And again, we can't go from nitrogen to hydrogen with grams and liters. We have to first, the only way we can convert between one of those to the other is by turning it into moles. So we can convert our grams of nitrogen into moles of nitrogen, and then we can convert our moles of nitrogen into moles of hydrogen, which then we can finally turn into liters of hydrogen. So very similar setup as we've been doing before, just instead of doing the last step to go to grams, we're now doing the step to go to liters. And one conversion factor that we will need is that 1 mole of a gas is 22.4 liters at STP. Okay, so we're going to start here with our grams of N2, which is 27.0 grams of N2. We can draw our chart. And our first step is to go from our grams of N2 to our moles of N2. So that means we need grams of N2 on the bottom and moles of N2 on the top. If we have grams over moles or moles over grams, we're going to use our molar mass of N2. So I already have the molar masses up here for you. So for N2, our molar mass is 28.02 grams per mole. So this is going to go with our grams. So we'll go down here, 28.02 grams of N2 per 1 mole of N2. So our grams of N2 cancel. We're left with moles of N2, so we're now here. Now to convert to our next one, we're wanting to convert to moles of H2. So we'll put our units first. And if we have moles over moles, we're using our equation. So we look for N2. It has no coefficient in front, so we're going to put a 1. And our H2 has a 3 in front. So for every 1 mole of N2 and 3 moles of H2, we're going to make 2 moles of NH3. So our mole of nitrogen and our mole of nitrogen cancel. We're left with moles of hydrogen. And now we can finally convert our last step into liters of hydrogen. So that means we want our moles of hydrogen to cancel. So we'll have to put moles of hydrogen on bottom. And then we're going to liters of hydrogen. And what's nice about our liter conversion is that it does not, like our molar mass depends on the molecule, it doesn't matter for our liters as long as it's a gas at STP. And so this is going to be 22.4 liters of hydrogen makes 1 mole is 1 mole. So this cancels and this cancels. So it's actually kind of easier than our other problems because we're not having to calculate the molar mass or use that for the final part. So now we can just put this in our calculator. We have 27.0 divided by 28.02 times 3 times 22.4. And remember sig figs, we have 3 here, so we will write 65.8 liters of hydrogen. So hope you can see that these are very similar to the other types of problems we've been doing. We can also do the same thing if we are given liters and wanting a final answer in grams. So here it's the same equation, now I'm asking a different question. So it's asking how many grams of hydrogen are necessary to react completely with 5.0 liters of nitrogen. So this time we're given the number for liters of nitrogen. And our final answer, it's asking for how many grams of hydrogen. And again, to get from nitrogen to hydrogen, we have to first go to our moles. So we can turn liters of nitrogen into moles of nitrogen, and then we can turn that into moles of hydrogen, and then finally grams of hydrogen. So here we'll start with 5.0 liters of nitrogen. We will then draw our chart. And we want our liters of nitrogen to cancel. We're going to moles of nitrogen on the top. And remember, if we have moles and liters, this is when we're using our conversion factor for liters, which is 22.4. So 22.4 liters is going to be 1 mole of N2. These both cancel. We're now in moles of N2. We can convert moles of N2 into moles of H2. Moles over moles, we're using our equation. So N2, we have a 1. H2, we have a 3. So now those cancel. We're in moles of hydrogen. So our last step is to turn that into grams of hydrogen. So we'll put moles of hydrogen down here, grams of hydrogen up here so that they cancel. Grams over moles or moles over grams, we're using our molar mass of H2. And that is going to go with the grams, so we'll put 2.02 grams of H2. I guess I don't need this G. Per 1 mole of H2. And these cancel. And we're left with grams of hydrogen, which is what we want. So now we just put it in our calculator. And we want 2 sig figs because of our first number given, so we'll write 1.4 grams of H2. Okay, that's really all we're doing with these. They're actually a little bit more simple than the other problems. So I have 2 problems that you can practice on your own. So try this one out and see. You can pause the video and try it out and see if you get the right answer. Okay, so here is the problem worked out, so you can check your answer and see if you got the correct answer. Okay, so try this next one. How many liters of H2 would be produced from 23.5 grams of HCl? So pause the video, and then when you're done, you can resume and check your answer. So this is how you would solve that one. Your final answer should be 7.22 liters of H2, and this is how you set it up. So this is how you solve problems when you have liters involved.